So a lot of times with clients that we're working with, they'll come to us and say, oh, we had this terrible fight. It doesn't help anymore what we've been talking about. I can't believe it happened. And one of the things that we have to remind them is that there's always going to be learning, there's always going to be growth, and sometimes conflict and things not working out is a reflection of that.
Yes.
And so I'm bringing it up because last week we had a little bit of a meltdown.
Yes. Did we? What day? When?
You don't remember?
Yes, no, I do. We did have a bit of... there was a bit of a meltdown. When you say we, it was more a question of I, was it not?
Yes.
Maybe you participated in it to a little degree, but I was probably more... I can be accused... I can be the person that the finger can be pointed at.
Well, I wasn't going to point the finger.
Okay.
I wasn't going to point the finger at you, but since you're pointing it at yourself, why don't you fill us in?
Well, we were doing our podcast, as we do. We're producing this podcast, which is going to be amazing.
I'm excited.
I hasten to add.
We're on episode 9.
But there is something about the production of it that at times feels like pulling teeth to me. And that was one of those occasions last week. And I was reminded of an occasion when I was, I think I was about 11, and there was an exam that you could do, I don't know if they still do, I'm sure they don't, in the UK, to get into secondary school. It's called the 11 plus.
So you probably were 11.
You get to see how my brain works now, and probably why the 11 plus did not go well for me. Anyway, in the process of studying for the 11 plus, my parents took it upon themselves to get me a tutor. And I don't think they would have ever have got me a tutor had it not been that this guy ended up being some sort of relative. I think he was a second cousin.
So he was doing it for free?
He was kind of doing it, I think, probably at a very reduced rate out of the goodness of his own heart.
Right.
But as an 11-year-old boy, I didn't really have much of an appreciation for that. All I could experience was just being stuck in the dining room for what seemed like an eternity, trying to learn these horrible math problems. And so I'd be told that it was going to be an hour long, and at whatever time after that 60-minute period had come to its conclusion, I'd be free to do whatever I wanted to do, go and play in the garden, whatever was available to me. But I'd get to a point where I hadn't understood what he was trying to tell me vis-a-vis said math problem. And then it would get to the 60-minute mark, and then he'd continue because he really desperately wanted to understand and know how to do this, to solve this problem. And so I'd be looking at the clock, and then I'd be like, he'd gone 10 minutes over. Oh no, he's gone 15 minutes. I just could not focus. I would get so distraught, and my mind just couldn't get around the fact that he was going way beyond the time frame that was allotted to him, and I'd get more and more angry and stirred up, and I just couldn't learn in that situation. And that's kind of how I felt with the podcast last week.
What happened?
I also, for one thing, I'm in this sort of very kind of like closed box because of the soundproofing. It feels kind of very constrained. I have to sit still. I have to focus on you and what you're saying. Plus, added to which, you have some sort of temperature. We have completely different temperature zones for our, how would I describe this? I don't know how I would describe. This is why we get into difficulty in the podcast, because I have to reflect back to you in some kind of cogent way, a decent response. But so anyway, the temperature, we have a different sense of what's necessary as far as comfortable room temperature.
It's not because I want it hot in the room, it's because we don't want background noise.
I know, but you do like it hot, so you have no problem with the heat.
Right.
So added to all the other attributes about doing a podcast vis-a-vis the closed container, the room is like a frigging sauna because we have to turn the AC off, we can't have the fan on because of the noise, we have to shut the door because the dog next door might be barking. It's kind of like, these are not ideal conditions for Angus to be productive. And so it feels like that situation. I'm stuck in the dining room, I can't go, I'm rooted to this seat. And then I start to get irritable. And then when I'm irritable, all the creativity goes out the window, and I can't really, in my mind, make the meaningful response that I want to in terms of what you just shared. So I don't know where you want to take that, but that was my experience, and I got mad at some point.
Well, I think is there anything more that I think we learned something from that experience. We learned that I can focus in a different way than you can focus. And it's not about intelligence. It's just about your bandwidth for that is different than mine. Your brain functions differently than mine. I have a more, what we call neurotypical brain that could do well in school and could probably handle the 11 plus. You're highly creative, highly intelligent, but your brain works differently than mine, and you have different processing speed, and that comes up sometimes in the podcast like it did last week. But now we know you need to take more breaks. You can't focus for that long. You need to cool the room off. You need to move. You need to jiggle, because I guess also sitting still is hard for you. You don't normally sit still without any kind of movement. Normally there's some kind of movement going on. Some kind of tapping
and
or
although
fidgeting.
I have never been officially diagnosed, this is all pointing to ADHD, I guess.
I'm not giving you a label.
Sounds like a euphemism for ADHD.
I said you have a very creative brain, and I'm not diagnosed.
Which I confess, I'm sure that I do have that going on. Go. Did you finish? Did I interrupt? I apologize.
But I think understanding these differences in each other are really important, because for me, it wouldn't feel difficult. It doesn't feel difficult for me to do that, and unless I understand that you're needing different things and can see that it's not I don't take it personally. Like, I think last week I did take it personally when you got angry and upset, but we were able to come back down from that and see that, you just have different needs, and that's also gets reflected in lots of other areas in the house where, before I would take it very personally if you forgot to do something, if you said you'd do something, you didn't do it, or I'd get frustrated because all the cupboard doors are left open. I'm like, why are the cupboard doors not shut? What's going on here? And it's just seeing that your attention span is different, your focus is different, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just figuring out what works best for both of us.
No, and I would agree. And actually, in terms of what you're saying about having those breaks, in a sense, for a lot of the work that we do, we're encouraging people to sort of accept the fact that, they may be getting stirred up. So in that situation, doing the podcast, I was getting stirred up, and it would behoove me to have a moment of repose, as it were, so that I can settle things down. You have this incredible capacity to be able to sit there and listen and sit still, and that's just not part of my makeup. So really the way around it for me is to have sufficient enough breaks so that that I don't get stirred up in that way vis-a-vis the confined space and the temperature. I need
and the focus
the focus is actually the focus gets disrupted by me getting stirred up. That's the bottom line, is I get stirred up by external conditions which is not great, I admit. But then I lose.
Well, I have to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Well, because you're not getting stirred up by external conditions. You're getting stirred up because you're paying attention to the narrative in your head.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am paying attention to the narrative in my head. And I just knew you were going to pick me up on that as soon as that came out of my mouth. And obviously you should. I created my own trap and fell right into it there. Okay, so in my head, I'm getting stirred up, basically, and I'm making external conditions the reason why I am stirred up.
Me being one of the
You
external
being one of them. Yes, you being one of them. You probably being the most obvious one. And the discomfort that I am creating in my head is a reason. That's a check engine light. I need to go and I need to go and look after myself, rather than just sort of thrash away at the engine and try and sit there and be meaningful, as it were, in my response. Really, it gets harder and harder to do, because for me, the external conditions that I've created in my head are very much the same as that experience when I was an 11-year-old boy looking at the clock because this teacher won't shut up. I was going to say something rude then. And I'm
am I the person that won't shut up?
Yes, exactly.
I don't think anybody's going to want to listen to our podcast now, I guess.
No, I love the podcast. It's like, those are the growing pains of my creative process, maybe.
Yes.
Ultimately, I think we've produced a really great product. But there has been a real learning curve for me around, our differences in that respect. I mean, I think that we finally, we are, it's definitely, this has been a growing edge for me. I feel like I've learned a lot doing the podcast, just in that respect alone. obviously I've had to learn to be, I mean, in terms of the work that I do, I have to be a really good, deep listener.
Hope so.
But in the podcast, you generally, you're very eloquent, and you can talk you can talk till the cows come home and be totally on point. And I'm, in a sense, I've got to respond to that in a meaningful way, and that creates a certain amount of pressure on itself.
Well, you create that pressure on you.
I do create that pressure on myself. So for me, yeah, it's been an incredible learning curve around all these, these ways that, again, create this storm in my head, and then want to externalize it by finding out what is the problem, why do I feel this way. I'm just probably uncomfortable. I'm hot.
You need a break.
I need a break.
That was the simplicity of what we figured out. We need to take more breaks because Angus gets restless.
That's right. That's the profound teaching point in this whole vlog that we're doing today.
That
just
is not
take a break.
That is not my point. My point is that oftentimes in relationships, couples have different kinds of brains, different kinds of nervous systems, and we can assume, like I was assuming, I'm fine doing the podcast, talking until the cows come home, thinking that you're fine too, and then I don't realize that you're getting restless, you're uncomfortable, it's not working for you.
Yeah.
And it's easy, once we understand that that's all that's going on, it's easy to make accommodations and to figure out what's the win-win situation. But I think that it's very common in relationships for couples to take those differences personally, and rather than it being a simple thing of, oh, you just need to take more breaks, we have kind of a meltdown, and it's like a creative meltdown for you.
It is. And then another feature of doing the podcast generally is we have some sort of, there is a deadline. There's a sort of self-imposed deadline that you generally come up with. We've got to get this done today. We've got to get episode 8 done today. So then that makes me think I can't leave. So I'm even more rooted to my chair in the spot. So you are like that teacher. We're going to get this done by hook or by crook. You're going to learn this math problem. By hook or by crook, we're going to get this podcast done today. But it's still a great learning opportunity for me.
Yeah, but we don't have to do it with you not taking breaks. And what we learned is how much quicker we got it done when you did take breaks.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing, when I'm in a good mood, how it just flows.